Any comments you want me to make?
Whatever you want to say, buddy.
Ruger LCP, rapid fire.
This video is going to be a comparison between the first gen original Ruger LCP here on the right and the newest Gen 3 or aka Ruger LCP Custom here on the left. All the stuff on the inside is the same. I don't really see any differences in the paperwork or the instructions or the accessories. Everything's pretty much identical to the way everything was when they first came out. The main reason why I decided to get this custom is Ruger had said on their website that the trigger pull was a lot shorter, and had a stainless steel guide rod, which the stainless steel guide rod's not, it's not a major deal breaker, but the trigger is what really made me take a look at these, because I always liked LCPs. Anybody who's been watching my videos for a while, just a really big fan of the LCP. This is my fourth or fifth one, maybe sixth, I lost count, but this was the last one I bought. It was the gold edition. I think I had the silver edition in this too, if I'm not mistaken, and I sold the silver and I kept the gold. But anyway, just a great gun. Never had a problem with the trigger or anything like that. One of the main draws to this gun for me was the fact that the sights are just so low profile. I mean, this has got to be, in my opinion, one of the best all-time guns ever created for deep undercover concealment. A backup gun that you want to forget's there. Now, compared to the new sights, obviously a huge difference. To me, these new sights, now I knew when I bought this gun that I wasn't going to be crazy about the sights. I already knew that. I figured I'd give it a whirl, but the trigger was what I was mostly interested in. These sights are just huge, just big old doofy sights on the top of there. I mean, these sights remind me of what you would see on a gun with a silencer, and not that they're that high, but on this particular gun they just look gigantic, and as you would expect, they do snag on everything. I mean, this is just a gun that I like to keep in a boot or in my pocket, or wherever I keep it is going to be very highly concealed, and these sights just snag on everything. If you were going to have this as an only gun, or this was your main carry gun, then it might not be a big deal. You'll probably be carrying it in a holster that was made for it. Something that'll, the sights will slide in and out of better, so that might not be an issue. Another thing is that it just adds more pieces. I'm into simple things. The simpler the better. And you're talking about adding 3 or 4 extra pieces, because you have the 2 sights, that's 2, and then you have the screws that hold the sights in, that's 3, 4. So you're looking at 4 extra pieces, whereas the sights are integral part of the slide, and that's what I like. Simple, less parts, less weight, less things that can go wrong, and it's accurate. It's set up at the factory, dead on. With these sights, after a lot of target shooting, you're going to have to readjust the rear sight, and you have to be careful because the front sight could come loose. So let's look at the trigger. Now, the trigger is a huge difference. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. From this trigger to this trigger is a huge difference, and I'm going to show you exactly why. But Ruger claimed that it was a lot shorter, and I agree with them 100%. In my opinion, this trigger feels about half as short as that one. And here's what you're looking at here. This is the trigger fully pushed back. So you can see where that is there. And then there's your reset. Now, watch when I pull this. See where that broke? So there's a big gap between the back of the trigger and the back of the frame there. So that's it. You're only going from here to here. Now, compared to a Gen 1 trigger, you see the way that Gen 1 trigger goes all the way back? And the trigger doesn't break over until it gets all the way to the back. Okay? Much shorter. I mean, it's like night and day. in addition to that, you have a thinner trigger, okay, which that's also going to give you a shorter feel. So with this trigger being shorter, and it having to go all the way back to break over, that's giving you a really long pull feel. So this trigger being wider, that's also going to take up some of the feel of the length of that pull. Those are the two main differences between a first gen and a Ruger LCP Custom, aka third gen, would be the sights and that trigger pull. That alone is a big difference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my version of a LCP Custom, call it a 4th gen G2A, Glory to America LCP, but I'm going to take this 1st gen slide, which in my opinion is still the best slide. I'm going to make a Frankenstein LCP. So let's take these apart. One thing I noticed when I first went to break these down, or break down this new one, is that the pin was really hard to get out. Comment if you have one and you noticed that. But the takedown pin was so hard to get out that I actually thought they changed the design. I had to look at the directions to make sure that it was still the same way, which of course it is. So I just had to give it a really good, it's hard to tell on the video here, but I had to pry that probably 4 times harder than you would normally pry any other LCP. And I'll show you why that is. Upon closer look, I discovered why. Now both of these guns are dirty because I've been shooting them. So forgive me for that, but I need to clean them. Just got done shooting them this week. I'm going to put some more shooting videos up with these too. You see how easy that was? Let me show you one more time. I mean, that was a big difference. I mean, that just pops right out. Now, all of my other LCPs have all came out just as easy. So when I got to the new one, I really felt like I was going to break something. I had to pull it so hard. And I'll just show you why that is real quick before we look into the insides of these guns. I hope this shows up and you guys can see the difference, but here's the new one here on the right, or the left, I'm sorry. The new 3rd gen is on the left. The 1st gen's on the right. Now this newest pin has a bigger shoulder right here, where this indent is, that holds where the pin is. The wire, there's like a little wire or spring that holds this pin in when you push it in the gun, and that shoulder rides on that spring to prevent the pin from coming out. Now this one here, I hope you could get a good shot of it here on the video. It looks pretty clear on my camera, but this shoulder is a lot bigger than this one, so that's why it takes a lot more effort to pop that new one out. There's one other difference in the slides, besides the fact, of course, that the new one has an all stainless recoil spring guide rod, which just went flying, no problem. Didn't need to show you that anyway, but the other difference, the barrels are the same also, by the way. Here's the 2 barrels. Almost identical. I mean, there is one thing, I'm just showing you guys everything here. So this stuff right here probably doesn't matter a lot, but just in the interest of full disclosure, I'm not sure how well you could see that. Let me get a pointer here. The indent on the lug where the recoil spring guide rod sits is bigger in the newest barrel. I mean, it's substantial. It's a pretty big difference. So you can see here, here's the original barrel, and then here's the newer one, and you can see there's a bigger indent where the recoil spring guide rod sits. Another thing is, this is about the only difference in the slides besides the sights. You see this retainer where the recoil spring sits? There's an original one here, and the new ones just got some material cut out. They just looks like they lightened it up. I can't think of any other reason why they would do that, so most likely it was just to lighten it up a little bit. So there you go. That's about the only difference with the slide. The firing pin and the rest of the slide all seems to be machined identical. 1st gen and 3rd gen, everything else pretty much the same. Here's a shot of the insides of the frames. You should be able to tell that the one on the bottom is the custom by the red trigger there that you see. Everything else frame wise looks to be identical to me, other than the fact that the hammer's half cocked now compared to the first gen. So that's the frames. Now I'm going to show you what I got planned on doing right here. What I'm going to do is we're going to take this nice beautiful Talo Gold first gen frame or slide. So we got the Gen 1 slide barrel, and I'm going to put the stainless steel guide rod in from the new one, and I'm going to put all this onto the 3rd gen frame, and as you would expect, it fits right on there. And I'm going to use the new pin, the one with the thicker shoulder, because we're going to be using this frame, and that pin should go with that frame. So there you go. There is a 3rd gen, aka Ruger custom frame, trigger, and guide rod and recoil spring with a 1st gen barrel and slide on top. Now this is what I'm gonna keep together, I believe. To me, that's the ultimate. This trigger with that slide and sights, I mean, that right there, I'm getting excited already. That right there is an awesome LCP. In my opinion, that is the way I mean, this is it right here. This is what the LCP should have been. They ought to make this model. You know, Ruger, if you listen, if you know, by some chance Ruger finds their way to this video, this is what you guys ought to be making. That trigger with that low profile slide, not the 2nd gen slide. I'm talking about the 1st gen slide, those extremely low profile sights. Now if you made that, me and I'm sure a lot of other people will buy it, because that is just a perfect LCP. I couldn't even think of anything else you'd possibly want to do to the LCP at that point. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take this baby to the range, and we're going to test it and make sure that everything functions flawlessly, which I anticipate it to. Yeah, that's it right there, guys. So be on the lookout for the next video where I'm going to take this out and fire it up, and we'll see what happens. Catch you guys. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up if you like the video. And oh, I got some pretty cool stuff coming up too, so I'll see if I can get some other videos up here pretty quickly.